Hello again, I am Jim Bob and welcome back to Marwell Manor. It's the start of our spring period and I've just been doing a little bit of maintenance on our 6M here, just giving the engine a little bit of a tinker and a little bit of a tune-up. I've also fitted some skinny wheels to our 6M again because we're going to be doing some weeding today. We've had a little bit of weed pop up on our fields over the night. I'll just back our way out of our maintenance shed there. Need to pop the hangar door on our big equipment shed over here as well so we can grab our weeder. There we go. And we've been asked to run a sort of a delivery for Mr. Hollister as well. We've got to head over and collect some items from the stable for him a little bit later on today, and then obviously deliver those to the estate. So we'll be doing that once we've got our weeding out of the way. There we go, let's just get our weeder hooked up first of all. As I say, weeding comes first, so we need to take care of our own crops. So you can see that our crops haven't grown much, as you can see, but we are getting some weeds starting to poke through. So we do need to get on with these and deal with these quickly before they start to really sort of infest the field. And it's obviously going to have a negative effect on our crop. So that is something a little more urgent than just going to collect a couple of boxes. You see the sun coming up there through the haze in the distance. We should have a lovely sort of start to the day today. See already that sort of warmish glow starting to spread. And you can see the weeds being taken care of on our crop field. We've got a lot of ground to cover today with this weeder. All three of our fields are going to need sort of a brush over with our Einbach here. So we'll crack on with those, get those done as quickly as we can. As I say, we've also got to go and deliver some boxes to the estate for Mr. Hollister. He's got a couple of boxes of personal items waiting for him at the stable. So I said that we'd go and collect those. We'll get a small payment for that, not a huge amount. And there's also possibly another delivery job we'll have to do later today as well, but it depends whether we're going to have time between sort of doing our own crops and running that first sort of delivery for him. I also want to head over to the John Deere dealership today as well and just have a sort of a look at some of the equipment that is on offer and available, and also maybe talk about potentially getting something ordered for later in the year, so that once we have some funds available and we'll have a need for something, we'll be able to bring that in. We'll see. We'll see what their catalogue is looking like. It might well be that we can find something quite useful for us. And I'm also going to be kind of using some of the summer to sort of scout out the situation with some of the other fields in the area as well. A lot of the farms in this region have been struggling and suffering. Have been really hit with a lot of problems and uncertainty over Brexit, and it's caused a bit of a knock-on effect here in this sort of region's agricultural industry. So a lot of farms have either sort of struggled, or in some cases a couple have even gone out of business. So there might be the possibility, if we are going to be a successfully run farm and that's not a guarantee by any stretch of the imagination. But if we can do well in our first year, there is the possibility that we could even acquire some additional land and really try and push the farm forward. And we'd have to sort of look at not just what land is available, but how suitable it would be for, for various different applications. I mean, we could look at maybe acquiring some additional grassland. We could look at maybe acquiring land that we could then convert into cropland. It all depends on the suitability of the soil. It's possible that the reason some of the crops are failing is because the soil just isn't suitable, and someone has come along and tried to plant crops in soil that just isn't really suitable of sustaining good crop growth, and that's why crops have failed in the past. So we do need to do some sort of investigating into that. We'll probably liaise with a soil consultant, an expert, at some point as well. We'll certainly get some tests run, and it'll kind of point the way as to how we can expand going forward and where we can expand to. So that's something we'll be doing over the course of the summer, with a view to potentially, depending on how much money we clear at the end of the year, potentially looking at maybe acquiring a bit more land, in the winter period. So we'll have to see how that goes. But for now, we're going to concentrate on what needs to be done, which is our weeding. So I'll crack on with this, and I'll catch up with you once we've made a little bit more progress. We're about a third of the way through the field. What I'm doing at the moment is just running up and down through the centre. Once that's done, I'll do the edges, the sort of the bits that go off to the side where the field becomes a bit misshapen, and then we'll do a border pass as well to make sure that we've got every last weed that we can off the field. Hopefully that'll keep the product nice and protected, and give us a good yield at the end of the year. You can see just how much we've got to do still, but I do love. I mean, look how much cleaner our crop looks on this side here, where we've already been through. It does look good, doesn't it? There's a world of difference to our sort of slightly overgrown mess of crop over here. So still a fair bit more to do on this field. It's going to take us another good 3 hours, I would say, maybe 4 hours to get this field done in its entirety. This, of course, being our biggest field, so this is going to take the longest time to do. Field 15 shouldn't take too long, and then we may even have some weeds popping through on field 1. We didn't quite eliminate every single trace of weed, if you remember, with the ploughing. We did still have a few little remnants just poking through, and it's entirely possible that they've come back with a vengeance. So we will go and check out field 1 as well, make sure that our soybean crop over there is protected. Fingers crossed we won't have to do too much, and this will be enough, using our Einbach aerostat here. But if things get really bad, then of course we could go the chemical route, and we could go and get some herbicide. I'd prefer not to do that if at all possible. I'd rather try and keep chemicals off the field where, well, obviously we're spraying fertilizer on there, or we spread fertilizer on there, so there's some chemicals there already. But I'd prefer to try and keep as much extra chemical off the field as we possibly can. And then, who knows, as we do move into livestock, maybe we could look at some slurry or manure as a way to add a little bit of natural fertilizer to our fields. I think that's probably a long way off. Given the size of these fields that we have, we're going to need some very diuretic cows to be able to cover all of these fields in one go. So that probably isn't really an option for another couple of years. We'll see. Depends how big a herd that we bring in. But I am going to be bringing in just a single cow in the next day or two as well, just to kind of get some milk going, so that we don't have to buy it down the local shop. We can produce our own, and then we've got it for the endless cups of tea we're going to be drinking while we're working through the summer and the harvest. And also, so I've got, as I said, milk for me cereals in the morning. We might possibly look at maybe getting a couple of chickens for eggs as well going forward, but chickens tend to be more of a hassle than anything else, so I probably won't bother with the chickens. I'll probably just stick to just a single breakfast cow. And then I think we'll probably go with some sheep towards the end of the year if the money is good enough. Obviously, it all depends on, say, the land situation and the equipment situation. We may well not have the money for sheep, but if we do have money for animals, then it'll be sheep that we go for first, I think. We're still waiting to find out what's going on with the health code violations at the dairy, so it's entirely possible that they could be shut down permanently. I really hope that's not the case. We'll have to keep our ear to the ground on that one, but I'm going to carry on weeding away here on our big field, on field 18, and I'll catch up with you once we've made some more progress over here. So we've done a big chunk of the field now, over halfway through, but it's time for us to start doing the border of this field as we're getting into the kind of fiddlier bits. So I'm doing a loop around the edge here. Make sure that we're getting all the way around the edge of the field. And then once we're done with this, then we'll sort of continue along the bottom of the field, where we kind of sort of border onto the neighbouring thistle farm, and then go back up towards where our equipment sheds are, and we'll do that small section over there. And then once that's done, we'll come back and finish this larger section over here, which is going to take a little bit more effort. I'm just keeping an eye on where the edge of the weeder is against the edge of the field, making sure that we are not missing anything. Last thing I want is to leave any of these weeds still on the field. Just encourage them to get tougher and try and come back, and say we don't want that. We want our crop to be nice and clean and weed free when it comes to harvest. Not just because it's going to improve our yield, but also I don't want to risk clogging up our header, our cutter. So we're almost done along this edge here. There's our border fence. There's Thistle Farm just over there. As I say, we'll sweep along the bottom because we did miss a little bit along the bottom when we were running up and down the field, and that was known about. I knew that we would be running along the bottom edge to make sure that was nice and tidy, so I wasn't bothered by that. There we go, sweep around the corner. We'll just kind of go to straighten up a little bit and run this bottom section here. There we go. We've had a few problems with birds on the field as well, so one thing I am going to be doing is making some scarecrows and plonking those down in the fields where possible to try and keep the birds away, especially on our soybean field, which is yet to really grow in. The seeds are still a little bit at risk, so I want to make sure that the birds stay away, and to try and do that we're going to try employing some scarecrows. I don't know how effective they're going to be. These days birds don't seem to be that scared by them, so it might be an exercise in futility, but we'll try it. We'll see if it does, do anything. I seriously doubt it will, but there you go. You see another little flock of birds just thinking about having a nibble. And now we're into the section that we haven't worked yet, so see it's a little bit more overgrown over here. So this section's going to be finished off here, and then, as I say, we'll go back over to the opposite side of the field. We'll get that done. Then we'll move on to field 15, then go take a look at field 1, and then we've got that delivery job that we've got to get done as well. So time to kind of press on a little bit. It's now sort of 11:30, so time is marching on. I always knew that this field would take us a long time because it is such a big field. Hopefully the other fields won't take us too long, and I'll catch up with you with a little bit more progress in a little while. We're almost done with this field now, just got a few thin passes left. Shouldn't take us too much longer, another couple of minutes I think and we'll be finished. Just getting this sort of long, thin section just here. There is still a clump of ground behind us that we haven't looked at. There we can see some weeds in front of us. Keeping an eye on the edge of the weeder there. I'm going to see if I can do... I don't think I can get this all in a single run. Might be able to if I'm lucky. I want to straighten up about here. I don't want to miss anything. If I have to come back and do an extra run, then so be it. It'll only be a few meters. It won't be a particularly long return pass. So better safe than sorry. Make sure that we do a proper job. Yeah, just a little bit left. I figured there probably would be. So we'll tag that now. There we go. And you can see time is ticking on. It's gone 1 o'clock now. So we need to go and do that delivery. So we're going to break off from weeding for now. We'll put this aside. And we'll go and deliver those boxes from the stables to the Hollisters at Marwell Manor, and once we've done that, then we'll come back and then we'll do weeding on our other 2 fields as well. I'll just have a quick look, actually just climb over the fence and have a quick look at the state of this field while we're here. Yeah, you can see we've definitely got some weeds poking through on this field as well, so this is definitely going to need doing. Haven't checked field 1 yet, but I imagine that it's entirely possible that field might need a little bit of treatment as well. We'll check it as we're driving out. So we'll drop the weeder off in the yard. No point putting it away just to pick it back up again, but we probably will give it a clean before we go on to the next field. So I'll leave it here by the washer. There we go. Now, I'm going to need the weight, I think, just to help give us a little bit of counterbalance. So I'm going to hook that up onto the back. There we go. And I left the forks, the pallet forks and the front loader arms in here with the bales after finishing off all that stacking last night. So we just drive in here. There you can see that's our hay bales. I actually miscounted. We took 24 bales to the zoo yesterday, not 26. And so all of our remaining bales are stacked in here, as you can see. So we have two sort of stacks sideways like this of 5 going along the back, and then obviously one extra here on the edge. So we've got 11, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30 bales here. Actually, no, it was 26. We've got 30 bales in here, so yeah, we've got 26 bales sent. I must have miscounted last night when I was stacking in here then. I have to say, I had a feeling it was 26 that we took over. But those bales are delivered anyway. We got that little bit of cash. Now we need to make our way over to the stables to go and collect a couple of pallets of boxes. It's going to be a little bit tricky. We don't have a trailer to kind of load them into, so we're going to have to sort of balance them on the forks and just be careful not to collide with anything on the way back. We'll have to be careful. To make our way to the main road. There it is. I don't have any beacons, so I can't put on sort of warning lights. I just have to hope that the traffic pays attention to the fact that we are carrying pallet forks. Let's turn the forks actually like that, make it a little bit safer. They're not sticking out, where we don't accidentally skewer somebody. And the stables is along here. It's a little bit past the shop, sort of between the shop and the biogas plant. So let's go see exactly what it is they have waiting for us to collect. I do love driving down country roads like this, where you've got the trees sort of hanging over the road either side, and just creates these almost tunnel-like moments, and when you get the light suddenly just spill through a tiny little gap. You shouldn't be tailgating. Let's back off a little bit. Try not to intimidate the local road users. When you get those sudden little shafts of light pop through the tree canopies, it really does kind of give you that really wonderful kind of aesthetic, and just a very pretty experience, I think. So here's the stables. Let's make our way down to see what it is we need to collect. It should be a couple of boxes from what I've been told. Let's get the gate open. Head on in. Oh, there we go. Oh, wow. They seem to have sunk into the ground for some... I'm not quite sure what's gone on here. That's very odd. I've not seen it do that before. Alright, see if we can nudge them back. Are they wedged? Oh, something very strange has gone on here. They seem to have got stuck in the ground. I have absolutely no idea what's going on here. But it doesn't look as though I can actually retrieve these. Oh, this is bad. That's terrible. I might have to call Mr. Hollister and just say I'm sorry, but we just cannot collect these items because they are, they are like Excalibur, and we are not King Arthur. They are stuck in the stone ground, and we just, even with this, hydraulic lifting apparatus, we just cannot get them out of the ground. Yeah, something very strange has happened there. So I thought I swore just saw some curtains rustling. It wasn't. It was the the engine steam there, the engine smoke. Yeah, but they're stuck. They're wedged. They're not going anywhere. That's very odd. So never mind. No contract. No contract completion here. We'll have to cancel that one off, I think. Let's call in and just explain that there's something very, very wrong. And we'll get back to our weeding. So we're back on the farm. We're back now on field 1. I had a quick look in on the way back and saw that it had weed problems and would need a bit of work. So I went and grabbed the weeder. We'll do this field first, and then once this one's done, we'll then move across and do field 15, and then that's our fields weeded and those problems taken care of. And hopefully that'll be the last time we'll need to worry about weeds this year. I mean, you can never say, with 100% certainty that that'll be it, but hopefully we'll be good. I mean, if we do have serious problems with weeds, as I say, we can always go the chemical route, get some herbicide, and spread that on. But I'd rather not go down that route if we can, partly because it's expensive, and we're limited on cash. So. Plus, we'd need a specific sprayer as well, and we don't have a sprayer. So, I don't even know if we could afford, with leasing fees, etc. I don't know if we could actually afford to go down that route. We might have to sort of play it by ear. But, I mean, don't forget we have still got, more baling that still can be done this summer. Quite a bit more baling. And we could potentially make a nice little chunk of change doing that. And that would certainly cover the least costs of a sprayer if we needed one at short notice, and the cost of the herbicide as well. But that would eat up money that we would ideally like to use for other things, animals or equipment or potentially land. And don't forget we still have to pay off at least 50 grand of our loan at the end of the year as well. So we can't just go spending money haphazardly, see something, buy it instantly kind of thing. We have to really, at least in our first year, have to really think these things through and be careful not to overextend ourselves. We ran into big financial problems on Fellsbrunn, and I do not want to put us in the same situation again, because that would just be bad. It would be very bad indeed. So this is our chance for redemption. We took a big hit, in terms of not just the farm finances, but personal finances as well. Losing out on the farm at Fellsbrunn, the farm went bankrupt, and we got left with a lot of personal debt as well. So we have to make a success of this farm here, or else we're going to really struggle to do anything in the future. A lot of hard work is needed, a lot of careful planning, and watching those purse strings as well. But as I said earlier in the in spring, I said I'm not too worried now about the state of this farm. I'm fairly comfortable with how we've got everything set up. A little bit more land would be nice, but it's not essential at this stage, because we do have an extra field we'll be bringing into play there on the other side of this hedge next year, when we have that strip of land available to work for agriculture. We have everything we need equipment-wise to get our farm up and running. It's just a question of when certain aspects come in. So we have everything we need to get a cattle industry up and running, be it beef or dairy. And it's now just waiting for the funds to actually bring the livestock in. Prices of livestock has gone down recently, so whereas we would pay up to and above $5,000 euros or pounds per cow last year. The prices have really tanked in the UK. It's only going to cost us $2,500 maximum per cow, and this is partly because of the concerns and worries over the uncertainty of Brexit. What's going to happen to a lot of industries. Are they going to be safe? Are they going to struggle? We still don't know what's going on with Brexit. It's still being debated in government, and that is having a lot of knock-on repercussions, not just in the agricultural world, but in every aspect of life here in England and and the rest of the UK. Businesses are looking to relocate. Some businesses are moving. Dyson, the vacuum manufacturers, are setting up shop in I think Thailand, or that region of the world. They're moving their main manufacturing plants. There's talk of Honda closing one of their plants in a couple of years' time, and that's going to potentially put a couple of thousand jobs at risk, as they look to pull out of the UK. And the uncertainty with agriculture is causing local farmers problems. They don't know if they're going to be able to export their goods to Europe anymore, or at least not without substantial levies attached and taxes. So it really is an uncertain time in the agricultural industry here. We don't really know just what kind of a knock-on effect that will have when it finally sort of comes to fruition. We're keeping our fingers crossed that it isn't going to cripple our industries, but we'll have to see how that goes. So I'm going to carry on sort of weeding away here, finish off this field, and then, as I say, we'll move over to 15, get that one done. I do want to try and stick, if we get time, stick a couple of scarecrows in the fields as well. We might have to sort of wait until the morning for that. Depends how dark it is by the time we get done. It's 3 o'clock now. I would like to try and get all my weeding done today, if at all possible. This field will take us a few hours, hopefully not too long. It's not a massive field, and we've got a good working width of 9 meters. So, fingers crossed, it shouldn't take us too long to get everything done. But it might be that we do have to sort of do field 15 tomorrow. I'd like to try and get it done tonight if we can, but like I said, we'll have to see how we go. So I'm going to press on a bit more, carry on weeding out this field, and I'll catch up with you in a little while. Down to the final pass on this field. It's taken us longer than I would have liked, but I've made the decision that we are going to just work through, go straight to field 15 and try and get that one done as quickly as we can. And we'll have to just push on and work through the night as best we can. I am going to get a worker to jump start on that field for us, because we're going to be putting up some scarecrows on this field here. This one is in more urgent need of them than the other fields, because the seeds are still kind of exposed on this one. You can see we're getting a lot of birds as well, and I just want to try and protect the crops as best I can. So we'll stick a few scarecrows in on this field here while our worker is busy on field 15 for us. And then we'll take over on 15, and we'll just work through the night, and however long it takes us is however long it takes us. It's going to get dark. That's pretty much a given. I think it'll probably take us around 4 hours to do that field, which means we're looking at around about 9:30 finish kind of time, which is a bit late. It's going to be dark. It's going to be very dark by that time, but we need to get this job done. We need to get all of our weeds sort of removed from our fields as best we can. Again, more birds. Look, real problem with birds on this field, and I want to protect my my investment of my very, very expensive seeding and fertilizing. This crop is worth potentially quite a bit of money. This is soybean. It sells very well, so yeah, definitely need to make sure that that's protected. So I'll jump out at the farmhouse, and I've got some scarecrows I've been building. I'll go and pick those up, bring them back to the field, and we'll get the worker up and running on field 15 while we're sort of sorting out those scarecrows. So I'll see you in a moment. There we go. Right, another one planted. So I've got 6 scarecrows on this field, kind of strategically spaced around to try and provide sort of areas that will hopefully intimidate the birds. Oh, he says this. Go on, shoo, get away from my crops. Try and shoo them off the field. Hopefully they'll help. I don't think it's going to eliminate the problem entirely. The problem is that, birds tend to get used to things. There's all sorts of different methods you could use to try and scare the birds. Some farms use sort of like shiny foil strips attached to crops as they're growing to try and reflect sunbeams. Some use noise cannons, to try and scare the birds away. You tend to get, scarecrows are still used in modern history, modern day farming. Particularly in Japan, they like to use them in the rice paddies. Big sort of users of scarecrows, because they're a low-tech technology. They don't cost a huge amount of money to make. It's just a few odd materials, isn't it? A little bit of wood. But yeah, I mean, there's all sorts of different methods that you could use. Some quite very expensive and high tech, but we'll go with the traditional odd scarecrow, and hopefully that'll help. It'll help keep the birds under control. I don't think it'll eliminate the problem completely, but if it at least protects our soybean crop a little bit better than nothing at all, it wants a little bit of time, patience, and some wild clothes with a little bit of stuffing. It's nothing, is it? So let's make our way over to 15. A worker has done some work over here for us already. I think he's just finished a patch. Let's see, where is he? There he is, all parked up, and you can see his part of the crop looking much cleaner. Not so much over here, so definitely gonna have to do some tidying up. I did spot a little bit of weed in front of us, so just try and tag that. There it is. So that's that piece there on the edge done. We're going to carry on sort of working this section over here. It's getting a little tricky to see exactly where the weeds are. I've got some here in front of me, I think. Yes, we've got a little sort of strip here in front of us that we can see. So we'll weed this. I know there's a little bit more over there that needs to be done, and there has been some bordering around the field that's been done as well, but there's still quite a bit on this field left for us to do. It's 6:15, so time is ticking on, light is starting to go, and it won't be too long now before the sun starts setting properly. It's sort of somewhere over there at the moment, a little bit higher up, sort of between, the other side of our roof panel just there. But it will be getting lower and lower. Make it harder and harder to see where we're going. We're going to be overly reliant on our working lights very soon. There we go. Let's make sure that's all definitely done. It is. So we'll do this side piece now. And then we'll get to working around the main mass of the field. It's going to be awkward with those telegraph poles as well. Have to make sure we give those I say a wide berth. We've got to get right up towards wherever we've planted, but we don't want to clip the telegraph pole with our weeder. It's not the sturdiest bit of equipment. It will damage it, so we do need to be very careful when we get close to the poles. And I did mistakenly say earlier that we had a 9 meter working width. I was mistaking this for the other Einbach weeder, which is a 9 meter one. Ours is actually a 12 meter weeder, which is a bit more useful, especially on the larger fields, than a 9 meter weeder. It just speeds our process up. Going forward, we may possibly look at getting a larger weeder next year. I mean, they're not the cheapest things, they're not horrendously expensive, but there are other more important things to buy than a slightly bigger weeder than the one we already have. There are things out there that we don't have anything of that we are definitely going to need at some point. And increasing our weeder working width by 3 meters is kind of low on that priority list at the moment. So I'm going to have one last check up here, because yes, there's some weeds just in front of us, just there, like you can see through the front window. I had a feeling I'd missed a patch over here, so we'll tag these. It's only a thin line, but if we don't do them, they will continue to grow, and that's the last thing we want. There we go. Right. So this section of the field is kind of done now. Let's go along the top and do another pass along here. There we go. Try and stay straight along here. This is again just to give us a little bit more turning room. And then we'll start running up and down the field. There goes the remnants of the sun setting behind our tree line there. So we don't have any effective light on our field anymore, which is making things a little bit harder to see. We are ploughing ahead with working lights. Hopefully we can get the rest of this field done before it becomes just too dark to see anything at all. But it is becoming very, very hard to see indeed now. Just a little glow over the trees there, no light shining through onto the field effectively. We can just about kind of make out where the weeds are, as you can see. Who knows, it might even be slightly easier with just the working lights and the natural light, or the shadows that the natural light is creating disappearing, but I don't think that's necessarily going to be the case. You can definitely see how clean the field is looking behind us here. Look, much nicer and healthier than it does look up in front of us. Our weeder working magnificently, doing the job that it's needed to do. But there are a couple of really stubborn patches of weed on this field that are just not going away, and well, we can't afford, as we discussed, we can't really afford a sprayer or herbicide this year. We might have to attack the field again next year. You see, we're coming up against one of these telegraph poles here. Have to carefully lap our way around that. But say there are a couple of really stubborn spots that just don't want to, the weeds just don't seem to want to disappear. So we might have to subsoil that in the off season. I don't want to have to, go down that route if possible. But if those weeds just refuse to disappear, we may have to look at resculpting the edge of the field slightly as well. That's another possibility. try and find those weeds again. There we go, there's the edge. Spin around. Yeah, there we go, we're back on back on the weeds. And this is where it's going to get really tricky, is making sure that we've cleared everything around these telegraph poles. As the light gets harder and harder to see, making sure that, you know, we're not missing any patches and that we are dealing with everything is going to be quite challenging indeed. Sun almost completely gone now. That bright glow that we had now getting darker and darker. The last remaining light is leaving us. So I'll crack on. Hopefully it doesn't become too dark to see, and we can get this field finished, but you know, we'll see where we are in another hour or so. We're almost done with the field now, just got a few passes left. That's the last of the telegraph poles, so it should hopefully be nice and straightforward for us now going forward. If we just take a look at our map here, you can see there are a few stubborn spots that just refuse to de-weed. There's one bit just there on that telegraph pole. There's a little bit here along this baseline. There's a bit around this baseline over here that just refuses to, you know, disappear, you know, no matter how many times I go over it with the weeder. So we may potentially get a few, you know, tall weeds popping up in those little spots there. And that's what we may have to deal with next year. But you can see field 18 nice and clean, field 1, you know, nice and clean as well now. So this is the last sort of section here that we need to do. I'll have to do around the other side of the telegraph pole as well. We'll do that at the very end, but we'll just keep running up and down and clearing these last few passes. What, 3 passes I think left after this one that we're on just now. So not a lot of work left to do. It is late, as you can see. It's just gone 9 o'clock. And it is very, very dark. If you take a look, it's so hard to see anything. The moon is coming up and starting to cast a bit of a faint glow over the field there. We can still pick out the weeds. You can see, you know, the sort of the line of weeds that we haven't done yet. But we don't have a particularly wide field of vision, unfortunately. So we can't really see how far across there we still need to go. But I think it's only probably another few passes, not a massive amount left. So once this is done, we'll be packing everything up for the night. Tomorrow we will crack on with the baling again. We'll start doing some silage baling on field 19. Who knows, maybe we'll have a little bit more crop growth happen overnight, and we'll have to pay attention to that. I mean, we don't need to do any more fertilizing, so we can effectively just leave our fields to grow now, but we do want to obviously just progress their growth a bit and check that they are growing in. That's going to be kind of crucial towards the end of the year. If we get to the end of the year, we've got nothing growing, then we're in real trouble. So yeah, hopefully we'll see some crop growth you know, before tomorrow. Move along a stage, and as I say, we'll be back on the baling tomorrow, get some silage bales made, sold. Some will be stored as before, and we'll also be looking to bring in, if we can, our first cow tomorrow as well, and possibly a couple of sheep too. So we'll see how that goes, but that's it from me. Thanks for watching. I am Jim Bob, and I'll be back with some more Marwell Manor very soon.